Hi, Ofro.
Hello, hello
I,
Ranjith,
I,
pleased to meet you.
man. I mean, of course, I'm speaking to you for the first time, but
Yes.
it doesn't feel like that because, of course, I've been following Atti culture very
Okay.
closely, and I'm a huge fan of all your productions, starting from
Oh, thank you.
Jortale to Asal Mob, a lot of the stuff that you do. In fact, I
Okay.
think there was a point where we tried to connect and try and see if we could do something together with
Okay.
my
Okay.
band and stuff like that. Like, tell us more about how the journey of Rohith from Rohith to Ofro, maybe.
Um. Well, I'm still Rohit to my mum and my dad,
Okay,
but
okay,
about it was in 2011 that I decided to go with the name Ofro, and
okay.
there's really no like deep story or anything there. I just
Mm-hmm.
woke up one day and I thought I I have a fascination for names that are like short.
Right.
So yeah, it was just random, and I came up with it, and then I was doing, I get involved in a bunch of creative things, and I
Mm-hmm.
started tagging all my sort of. It wasn't just music; it was poetry, it was paintings, and all sort of things. Everything I started tagging it as Afro,
Nice.
and yeah, at some point when I decided to get into this indie music scene.
Right.
I went full-fledged into into the moniker.
Lovely. I understand one side of the whole journey, which is more about you putting out your content, you writing your stuff, and you kind of exploring your skills and probably fine tuning them, and then putting it out to an audience and all that. But what amazes me about you is also when I look at the kind of artists that you've supported. Like now you've also moved into, I feel, a more if I may call it, a more noble space where you're actually not going beyond your just yourself, and then you're moving into exploring, helping other artists explore their skills for them. Like, of course, you've collaborated a lot with Asal, you've done stuff with Arivu, a lot of that. So tell us about that. I mean, I just want to know how it feels
Um,
like.
Honestly, it's the curiosity that that got me this far.
uh,
Um, like when I sit with Asal to write songs,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
it's super inspiring because he's got a very unique style.
mm,
He writes in a way that I've never seen anybody else write, and he
right.
thinks in a way that he thinks in a way that most people are afraid to think in.
Mm,
And likewise, even with Arivu, it was a similar thing. He's very unique, and he has his own sort of style.
mm,
And
mm,
and I as much as I spend time with them and I write songs and everything, I also like
mm,
learn a lot from
mm,
working with them. And
mm,
it doesn't actually end there. It's like I work with this artist called Dore. He's
mm.
honestly like the best songs that I've written are with Dore, and we haven't released a single song yet. So very
Oh,
excited
okay.
about that. Then I work
Wow.
closely with Santosh sir, and again, there's
Mm,
so much for me to like learn every time I watch
mm,
him go to work. It's
mm,
his work ethic and like his workflow. All of those things
mm.
are like is they really they make me really curious, and like
Okay.
it's a great reason to get out of bed in the morning. So that's it. That's the only reason why I kind of get involved with these artists. A lot of artists reach out to me, but I don't. I feel that magic with some artists, and then I try to like work
Mm.
with them.
So, Ofro, have you always been a producer? Because is production has come in, has it always been there right from the beginning, or is it something that you slowly moved into? Like,
I actually started with like normal piano classes and stuff, and then
okay.
at some point, I guess when I was like 13, 14 years old, this is what I wanted to do. And from
Okay.
there, this was always at the back of my mind. I was a keyboard player for several bands. Bands were actually very successful. We played all
Mm-hmm.
over India. This is in like
Okay.
2005, 6, 7, that time. We were quite popular around India,
Mm.
so we did that whole thing. And then from the
Nice.
band space,
Nice.
I went from classic rock to metal to like
Oh
progressive
wow.
metal, and then like jazz, and then and then from there I made a huge jump into electronic music. It was mostly
Okay.
because I wanted to figure out how to like do the whole thing by myself and not depend on
Okay.
musicians and stuff.
Okay.
Um, so I got into this whole electronic music space, and
Mm.
long story short, eventually I started working in cinema, and that was I started working with Harris
Mm.
Jairaj, and that was a major learning
Okay.
curve for me because I was able to, for the first time, I was able to study the kind of decisions producers make when they are like catering to like a Tamil Nadu audience or something like that.
Mm.
So it
Mm.
was really
Mm.
nice that way. And that learning has been going on till today.
Okay.
So I guess you could say like I didn't always want to be a music producer, but it's just something that like it was necessary for me to do the things that I wanted to do, basically.
Right. And I'm sure you're enjoying it too much also
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. It's too much fun. Sometimes I feel guilty about how fun it is.
Like, tell me more about Atti culture. I want to know. I want to know
Mm.
how Atti culture happened. Yeah.
So horticulture actually, so I work closely with my partner Ken Royson. Ken is
Mm-hmm.
he's a visual director, and
Okay.
Ken and I have been working together on all my indie videos since like 2017.
Okay.
And since 2017, Ken has extensively worked with indie artists, Tamil indie artists from Tamil Nadu, Bombay,
Mm.
Malaysia, Singapore, everywhere. He's now UK and everything. So he's kind of like
Oh.
well, well, well read about the intricacies and the cultural
Mm. Mm.
strong points of like the diaspora, which is very
Mm.
important.
Mm.
Um, and he knows all, if there's a Tamil indie song out, he's probably heard it. And for the
Oh.
last like 10, 15 years, like that. So he grew up
Wow.
more than cinema, he grew up like listening to indie songs. So,
Mm.
so Ken and I have like a working chemistry, and we've been
Mm-hmm.
like doing this for a while. We worked
Mm.
together on building the Arivu image
Mm.
with Kalamauni and Snowlin and all these
Mm.
songs.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And
Mm.
then when we started when I went to him and I told him that I'm going to be working with Asal Kolar,
Mm-hmm.
um, he basically suggested to me that we should like form a label and like do this thing like as a
Mm.
with a long term vision. And like
Mm.
label is
Mm.
honestly like not the right word because
Mm. Mm.
we don't really do what traditional labels do
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
We work very very closely with the artist. Like
Mm.
it's an ongoing process that takes like a year at least. And
Mm. Mm.
now we put that 1 year into Asul Kolar, and now we're focusing on other artists as well.
Okay.
Um, but that's what horticulture is. So I focus on the music.
Mm.
We have an internal team of writers,
Mm.
and then we have Ken and his entire team who help us with the films. Um, and that's pretty much how this whole plan comes together. We're like so bootstrapped, and uh, we're such a small team. And it's our
Mm.
biggest strength because
Right.
we are not
Take decisions
we
quickly.
we
Yeah.
take decisions quickly and we take risky decisions. Like for
Mm.
example, Jortale, the
Mm-hmm.
whole song is 1 minute 50 seconds. Like
Okay.
if I had made that song for any other label or producer or anything like that, the first thing they would
Yeah.
have told me is இதுல ஒரு சரணம் add பண்ணுங்க இல்ல இதுல ஒரு BGM
Correct.
add பண்ணுங்க.
Correct.
The first thing they but because we are like because we are like this, we get to make those decisions. We're like, yeah, that's it. This is enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Likewise, even with the video, the because
Mm.
we're not like some fancy
Mm.
production company, we literally
Mm.
shot the entire video in like 5 hours in the middle of the afternoon in a playground. Morning, these
Wow.
kids come to play football, and then in the afternoon it gets too hot, so they go home and then they come back at 4 p.m. So we had this
Okay.
11 a.m. to 4 p.m. window where we could
Right.
shoot the video. And then
Wow.
we didn't get police permission, and then police landed up there, and we had to like, so it was a memorable day.
No, it doesn't. I mean, none of that is really visible out there. I could just, the moment you watch, of course, Asal has that swag and everything, his own body language, and, you also coming in. Others like treat, of course, the dancers, everything. It had that perfect vibe. And I remember that video and the sound and the music like completely blowing me away when I instantly saw that. And I don't think all videos have that kind of a, or all creations have that kind of a power where they
Correct,
instantly
correct.
like blow you.
Yes,
Some of them grow in you, but I think most of
yes.
your content has that unique kind of an
Oh,
explosive,
thanks.
yeah, explosive,
Uh,
it just explodes on you, like instantly. So that's beautiful.
yeah.
So
I
if
guess it's
if
the comedy angle inside every song.
mm,
Uh, we are
right.
like a bunch of, uh, for lack of better words, we're just a bunch of fools. If you hung out with me and my gang, you'll know what I mean. Like we just like we're like we're like teenagers. Even though we're like adults, we're really like teenagers.
Yeah.
So from all of that sort of like young energy, all this fun, non-serious kind of music gets created.
I
Yeah.
think I could use a good dose of that young energy sometimes. If I was an independent artist and if I feel like I have something unique, I have something really interesting, what do you think is my process? Like, would culture be interested in me? Is there some way that I could, uh, you know, get?
Mm,
Do you have a process? So basically, I'm trying to find out is, do you have a
we
process where you?
we don't have like a rigid process or anything, but
Mm,
I guess what we do is I get songs sent all the time.
mm,
I listen to it first. I'll see if I like it. If I
right.
like it, then I start sharing it with the team, and then
Okay.
sometimes the team won't like it. They'll be like, "Ah, it's
Mm,
okay," and all that.
okay.
So, we try to find a point where,
Unanimously, all
uh,
of you like it. Yeah.
no, not really. Sometimes even I'll be like, no, I don't like it, but then like Ken will still go with it. So in the end, it just
Mm,
comes down to like how passionate one creator is towards
mm,
that
mm,
one
mm.
creation. That's it. And if that passion
Okay.
is there, then we get into the process. And the process is
Mm,
basically we have about 4 or 5 Tamil writers,
right.
and we put them in a room, and we just like we start like chipping away at this concept for a song. Like all our songs will have
Right.
a concept. We start
Mm-hmm.
chipping away at this concept until we
Mm-hmm.
arrive at like a good song. And for me, good
Mm.
song is when the whole room is like erupting with energy, like laughing,
Right.
not
Right.
having a good time. And that is like a good uh, indication for what a good
Mm.
song is.
Right. Right. Right.
So that's all it is. So most of the time, like we put together like scenes where all of us can hang out together. Basically, we have the Atti where we all
Mm-hmm.
get together, and
Okay.
new people keep coming through the Atti, and they come hang out and
Mm.
share their songs and everything with us. And suddenly, like something gets exciting, and one thing leads to another, and we make a song. That's it.
Okay. So just tell me, I'm just interested to know more about Madras May Day. Tell me more about Madras May Day. Is it like a extension of culture? Is it something
No, no, no.
new?
It's a separate thing. Madras Media was founded by myself and Tenma.
Okay.
Tenma is the founder of Caste Collective.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started Madras Media in like 2018, when the whole independent music landscape was completely like different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was like there wasn't like as much opportunities or eyeballs on independent music as there is like today.
Today, yeah.
Um, So in that space, we basically started Madras Mede as a facilitator, so that like the stakeholders of this tiny niche subculture can start
Mm-hmm.
coming together and forming a community and meeting each other and things like that. And in fact, it was all the events and activations that we did under Madras Mayday that slowly
Mm-hmm.
built the foundation or like the bridges for that ecosystem that we have today. I'm not
Right,
in on the large scale, but our ecosystem, like me and
right,
my
right,
team and everything.
right.
It's the roots of all of this that we're doing was actually laid there. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what Madras Media is about. We want to bring like songwriters, singers, artists, photographers, designers, publicists, everybody. We want to bring them into a room and we want to hear from everybody. And we want
Right,
everybody to hear from everybody. So you know who else
right.
is there. You know you have a resource pool of like
Mm,
of artists or whoever personnel that you can
mm,
reach out to and conduct your own independent promotions.
mm. So tell me how that how Tirukkural happened. How did that initiative take off?
I meet artists all the time, and then I
Mm,
find um, like some artists when I meet them, I they just seem very like
mm,
interesting and like I gravitate towards them.
mm,
And Arivu was one such artist, and we sat together, and so I guess like my songwriting process for
mm.
independent artists is basically like a psychology session. Is that what it's called?
Okay.
Yeah, like a therapy session where I'm
Mm,
like, if I was making an independent song with you,
mm.
I don't make like one song with anybody. I usually, if I work with somebody, I try to put a body of work with them
Right,
uh,
right.
before I move on to somebody else. This whole single
Mm.
thing is not. I'm not a big fan of it.
Okay.
So like, let's say we're sitting together and we decide like we're going to make 5 songs over the next 6 months.
Right,
Then basically the process is for me to like find out who is Ranjith, what do you
right.
like, what do you eat, what are you, where are you from, what,
Mm.
generally like I want like as much information. And when you start talking, you kind of like start finding all these like quirks about the person,
Right,
which I have a knack for packaging things.
right.
Um, so I just take all those things and I put it together and yeah, uh, I try to find these authentic stories that you can
Mm,
say from your
mm,
identity. Like a lot of my music is
mm.
very identity driven.
Okay.
Um, like only Asal Kolar could have written a song like Jortale.
Correct.
Uh, but like we live in a world where like in cinema and all that, it's literally like
Mm.
Asal Kolar will write Jortale, somebody else will sing Jortale, and somebody else will act on
Correct.
Jortale, and
Correct.
they all won't have anything to do with the song, like with the
Correct. Correct. Correct.
message or anything in the song. So I think that's where indie music differs, and I think it's
Mm,
important to retain that. Even
mm,
a lot of indie artists I see,
mm,
they say they're independent, but they actually just make
mm.
cinema music without a cinema.
Yeah. 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 I get that.
Um,
I get that.
Yeah, so I try not to do that. I try to
Mm,
exploit my independence, my freedom in this
mm.
space with I think of like what am I not allowed to do in cinema? Let's do that here,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. Because you just said it. I think most of people and right now there's a whole spurt of musicians, who want to hit the independent space. They want to try out. They also want a piece of the cake, piece of the pie because it's now getting bigger. Right? There's a lot of,
Yes.
like you said, a lot of eyeballs towards the independent scene, and a lot of people do that. But like the common thing that I see, like exactly, very aptly you put it, like people just imagine situations and just get somebody else to write it and all that. But
Yeah.
you, of course, like now it makes sense. Like when I watch your videos and I watch the content, I understand the storytelling, and it comes from
Hmm.
the roots, comes from
Yes,
the
the
root,
identity.
the identity. that's
Yeah.
really that's really insightful, I should say, because yeah, that's so important, and you helping artists explore that's amazing, what do you feel is the scope of South India, like emerging as an indie superpower? Like, where are we headed? What's your take on that? Because I feel you're one of the
Uh,
people who are literally spearheading this. So I just want to know from you.
um, I think this year there will be. I think this year there will be Tamil artists featuring with
Hmm.
international artists
Wow.
on like the biggest level, not even like
Mm,
just international. There will be Tamil artists
mm,
featuring with international artists this year. That's one
mm,
thing. The other thing is I feel like uh, I feel like there's a big scope for English singing uh, Indians basically. Um, for example, there's this movie Mahan just released. Okay, so there's this
mm.
one song in that movie called "Missing Me," sung by Dhruv Vikram. It's written and
Okay.
sung by Dhruv Vikram, which is
Okay.
already impressive because most of these guys they don't write their own stuff, but he
Right.
writes, he wrote his own
Right.
thing and he rapped his own thing and he sung it and everything. So that was already
Mm,
impressive. Now, other than that, if you look on
mm,
YouTube, that
mm-hmm,
song is probably the third or fourth highest, fourth most views on YouTube. But
mm,
if you go on Spotify,
mm.
that's the highest views on Spotify. Basically,
Wow.
what that says is like the
Mm-hmm,
Spotify audience are actually interested in English music,
mm,
and the YouTube audience is interested in folk music,
mm.
right? And they're both
Right.
really important. It's just something I realized like 2 days ago. I was like,
Mm-hmm,
okay, I got to keep this in mind. Like a lot of the decisions I make are data driven. So this
mm.
was just like a very interesting data that I had. Yeah, so Spotify, I think there's going to be a lot of English artists coming out of like South India.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, a lot of international collaborations are also going to happen this year. I think
Wow.
we are, as a whole, South Asian, and like by South Asians, I mean like, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Nepal,
Mm,
India,
mm,
Gujarati, Punjabi, Hindi, all of that, all as this whole thing.
mm, mm-hmm.
I have a strong feeling that this sound is going to be the next wave of mainstream.
Mm,
Um, I don't know where Tamil fits into any of this.
mm-hmm.
Um, but it is definitely possible. Like we have a rich tradition, we have a
Mm,
rich
mm,
heritage of like sounds
mm,
in Tamil Nadu. I just
mm.
think we haven't packaged them for export. We have not
Yeah.
packaged them for export for the longest time, and that has begun and it's happening right now. So
Yeah.
I don't see it taking much time before this becomes like a global phenomenon. I don't know if
Wow.
you listen to Afro beats. Have you heard Afro beats?
Afrobeats. Oh,
Burna
yeah,
Boy,
yeah.
Wizkid.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I have.
So those they're like Nigerian music that's now
Right.
like mainstream worldwide. We don't
Yeah.
understand their language, we don't understand,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
everybody loves that music.
Everybody loves it. Yeah.
I think
That's
that's the
true.
space that we are headed to, and
Mm.
I'm actually hoping that like all the other creators around also like have that kind of vision.
What are some of the pointers that you have for young musicians who want to just tell their story? Like, what do you feel that they should, where do you think they should really start from? And, what should they really do to kind of, because you did say how important it is to be true to yourself. Of course, it's one
Yeah.
thing that you're coming up with a lot of creative ideas. That's great. But what do you feel are things, pointers that you can share with the budding, ones who are looking at building that kind of a platform for themselves? Like, how do they start, or what is the real, how do they find the truth?
Hmm. I I mean, it's just a lot of talking, lots of discussion, lots of introspection,
Mm,
and then I guess you find that is one thing. The other thing is like intrinsically as humans growing up in this society,
mm,
we tend to like build up biases in our mind, lots and lots of biases,
mm, mm,
most of them even unknown to us.
mm,
I think like me personally, my biggest process in life is to identify the biases that I have, accept those biases, try to like overcome them, and it has always been in that journey that I've found like the best artists to work with and the best songs. Predominantly, you find yourself interacting. Uh, Predominantly, you find yourself interacting with people from your community or class or your caste or your group, your school or your college or your area. All of these things are basically all of these things basically put you into like they basically got you. It's like having blinders on, like in a world where like the world is an ocean and you're like a crab in a bucket. Um, and you put yourself in the bucket. So the my constant journey is to like recognize the bucket and then get out of it, and then you realize you're in a bigger bucket, and then you get out of the bigger bucket, and then bigger bucket and bigger bucket, and every time you come out of that bucket you're in right now, it's like a whole new world of opportunities and ideas and things like that. And yeah, that's what I hope like most people do. Like everybody I speak to, that's what I tell them. Just come hang out. My group of friends, like my team and everything, everybody is from different places, different dreams, aspirations, like different backgrounds. But like when we all get together, it's like a super. Our differences are like super interesting for us because we get each one's kind of perspective on like a thing that we're trying to do.
I know you've learned formally. You said you learned piano, and I'm sure you have some kind of a formal training also in music. And then you've also moved into a space where you've started identifying people's roots and their true storytelling capacity and all of that. So, what do you think is more handy today? Like today, if you were to go back and ask yourself, like, would you want to train more? Would you want to learn more, or do you think it's more to do with some kind of a spontaneous, in the moment thing? Like, what do you feel is your unique style?
Um, I actually have no idea because I'm changing so rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I have a unique style. Like when you listen to my music, there is something that's just that's similar in all of it. But I don't really focus on that much. I have
Okay.
never been the person to be like, this is my sound, this is what
Okay.
I do. Or I've never really been like that. I just like keep doing whatever I am doing. And
Mm.
invariably, when you like zoom out, all of them kind of they tied together
Right.
in by something, and maybe that's what my style is.
So more
Um,
instinctive. Can I say it's more
it's
instinctive
yes,
and
yes, it's
less
absolutely.
technical? Less technical, more instinctive.
It's
Would that be?
actually it is very technical
Mm.
from like a sonic perspective, not
Okay.
from a
Okay.
music perspective. It is very
Okay.
technical. I get into like the
Sound
production
design.
techniques, sound design, and all that. I make it's like thing. Music, I like to keep it simple because like
Okay.
I learned how to do all of that from Harris Jaraj and
Yeah. Right.
all the people. Even like with Sana, like
Santoshna.
he's even though he uses all these complex chords and movements and everything,
Mm.
when overall it sounds like simple,
Yeah. It
and that
does.
is very it's a very hard thing to do. So
Yeah.
and so I learn from all of these things.
Yeah. I also feel Santosh Narayan, of course, his music is so independent. I feel I don't really listen to film songs when I mean the kind of idea that we have about
Mm.
film songs. He completely broke that. With his
Yes,
new
yes, he
sound,
did.
his
Yes,
ideas. Even I
yeah,
still look forward to his albums because they're so out of the box. They're so feel like they're so in the independent space, but still
yes,
catering to a commercial audience.
yes, yes. It's true.
I have a lot of friends who keep discussing about when will independent music get its due? When will independent music get its due? And I'm wondering, isn't it
I'd say like
already
another
getting?
1 year.
Mm, another one, yeah.
It's
Okay.
I actually feel like right now
Mm,
independent music in Tamil Nadu is bigger than most cinema music in Tamil Nadu.
right.
It's like there's like
Correct.
top three albums in cinema that's like super
Mm,
successful, and then
mm.
everything else is like not that successful.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I
there's
get it.
also indie music that's like up there.
Up there.
So
Totally.
I think it's a good space we're in, and moving forward, like some cool things are going to happen more and more. The
Super.
arts are coming together, the sports is coming together. I think like
Mm,
I've always thought like when fashion, music, art, and sports comes together,
mm,
that's when we're in like the
mm.
like that's full form basically.
That's like a genre in a sense, right? Like
Yeah,
R&B. Like when you say R&B, it's everything. It's dance.
correct,
It's
correct.
music. It's a culture, like you said
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
yeah. It's hip hop basically.
Yeah, it's hip hop. Yeah.
This right now we have a huge divide between music and art,
Mm,
and music and fashion, and music and
mm,
sports. And
right.
likewise, everything else also, everything is disconnected. So the
Yeah.
long-term vision is to find like a way to like bring all of this together.
Mm,
And whenever that happens, it'll be like a $1 billion industry.
yeah. I'm sure.
So one thing I really loved was where you said that you all of you have the heart of a 16-year-old and the process is so fun. But at the
Yeah,
same time, when I look at the music that you're creating, there's so much depth to it. It's a story. It's not just it's coming from a place of intimacy, of vulnerability, where
yeah,
you're like portraying the life of, like a piece of that of the life that the artist has lived,
yeah.
and that's coming from a process that's fun though, so
Hmm.
I think my question from your conversation, my takeaway, and also something that I feel that our learners would want to know is how to really be an artist and keep the process fun, tell a story that you really want to, but like make art, like make music or art like mainstream, make it a full-time job. Like how do you really monetize on this? How do you spend your entire day, your entire month, doing this, and still monetize from it when you're upcoming, when you're still not at a position to be able to dictate, how things work. So how, yeah, I think you get my question. How to make this mainstream?
Um, a lot of the artists I speak with, like the young artists, they'll be like, "Oh, நான் ரொம்ப struggle பண்றேன்." And then I'll be like, "Yeah, obviously you have to struggle, right? Like if you don't, like what's like why is anybody going to hand anything over to you? You have to struggle. Struggle is part of it. We all struggled. The whole monitor, like, if you have to be great at something, you have to put 10,000 hours into it. To put 10,000 hours into something, you need to do that full time. I consider my work as like a full time job. I wake up in the morning, I'm in the studio by like 8 a.m., I'm out of the studio by 4 p.m., and then the rest of the evening goes into meetings and networking and things like that. So I kind of like live this life like more than a full time job. Um, but it wasn't always like this. Before there was even while I was doing this as a full-time job, I was not making the kind of money I make now. So it was difficult. I've done all kinds of jobs. I've been a piano player at like bars, playing cover songs. I used to play at weddings. Uh, um, all sorts of things. Like I've been assistant programmers to programmers who are assistants to music directors. Like I've done the
Yeah.
whole thing. Like and uh, I'd say just like mainly like uh, enjoy all of it. Like for me, like as much as like in hindsight, it sounds like, oh wow, I did a lot of work. It's like it was tiring. It was definitely tiring, but I enjoyed the whole process. I met some amazing people. I made friends. I made friends. That's the really important takeaway. Everywhere I go, I have friends. Um, every studio I go, the engineer, the staff working in the studio, everyone, they're friends. I'm friends with them. So um, all of those things are important. Like monetizing, you just have to like keep monetizing. You just wherever you can make like. I guess like the best advice I can give is don't spend too much money. Save your money. Eat at home, things like that. But essentially, if you stick to if you stick to what you love and you just keep doing it, eventually you'll get there. Right? There's no other way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
It's like
guess
I like when you're asking me all these questions, I feel like I'm supposed to have some answers, but I really don't. I just keep like doing things, and like this thing sometimes they work, sometimes they don't work. சும்மா அடிச்சு விடுறோம் ஒர்க் அவுட் ஆகுது அவ்வளவுதான். Like if anybody listening to this is like a young artist who has just got into this whole music thing and you're frustrated that you're not able to shut your parents up, or that you're not getting respect in society because you're not making any money, I've been there. It's like a normal feeling. Like honestly, I don't know a single other artist who has not felt this way.
Yeah.
Everyone feels this way. It's like a normal. Like if you don't feel this way, it's probably like a problem. So like it's it's super normal. Just keep doing it. Like eventually you'll crack it. Eventually you'll find a way. When you've done it long enough, somebody will come give you money for it. It'll be
Yeah.
fine.
You are in the making.
Yeah, exactly.
Super.
I just
Ofro is
feel there's
like,
like எல்லாருமே வந்து they like in a sort of a race to
Yeah.
like succeed,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's even I'm in a race to succeed, but I have to keep reminding myself also that like, you have to give it time, you have to give it time.
Yeah. Thank you, Ofro. More
Thank
power
you.
to you. More power to Atti culture.
Thank
Looking forward to that, to more
Yeah,
exciting content, and like you just said, it's another year, so I'm sure there's a lot
yeah,
that we're going to see from you and from your team.
yes.
So all the best
Well,
for everything.
we're
yeah,
also really looking forward to building a relationship with Madras Mayday, and like really putting things together and playing our part in whatever it is that you do.
yes,
Because, like you said, I think it's important to be a community and not
yes,
just individual brands. Like
yes, yes, yes,
oh, we're a community. The learning, the joy is doubled. It's multifold, and so I
yes.
really resonate with your cause, and we'd be happy to participate in every way possible. Yeah.
Oh
For
yes,
sure, I will keep that in mind. We have a little
sure,
directory of people that we're going to contact. We always contact them. I'll add this into that.
sure,
Most of the Madras Media curation is handled by Tenma, so I'll speak to him as well.
sure.
But otherwise, thanks for having me on this thing. What you guys are doing, inspiring younger talent, and more than inspiring younger talent, like working with them closely, hands on, and giving them that mentorship, that actually goes a long way. Uh, the the அதோட விளைவுகள் வந்து நம்ம we'll only begin seeing that in like 3-4 years.
Mm.
So I actually think what you're doing is very noble, and so thanks for having me on this thing. And like I hope some kick-ass artists come from this space.
Thank you, Ofro. Thank you so much.
PaatuClass.